bit, eh? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to try a different delay setting here. Let's try that. That better? Hello. Am I in sync? Hey, 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 hey. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Am I in sync? Laggy. Ah, crap. So there's a setting within the Camlink 4K that must have been changed when we did the Halloween stream because I used this camera for that. So, what would be the solution for today? Should I, lag is, oh, I see. So it's there. Will this work for today, or should I continue trying to solve this? Video is grainy, sound is flawless. Yeah, it's weird. We did the Halloween special with this camera, and there's a ton of settings in there that I had changed when I had started doing this that must have been changed back by those pesky video folks. Let's see. Let's see if I can try one more thing here. Let's try this. See if my mouth lines up with my words. How's that? Any better? Yeah, I've already restarted. Set it to 1080, 60 frames per second. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, I gotta unplug this for a second. How's that? Is that any better? We're gonna get it, guys. It's gonna be so good when it's done. Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? Hello. Hello. A lot better. It is. Oh, shit. Well, that lighting thing changed. Ah, well. Here we go. Here, I'll turn on a light. This will be so slick. 2 seconds. Up. Not plugged in. There we go. Plugging it in, plugging it in. All right. There's some degree of light. Let's see if that's any better. Is that better? Now mouth is synced with audio too. Yeah! Look at us. Yeah, I got this ridiculous little guitar from Kiesel the other day. It's hilarious. So I thought I would jam on it today with yous. Let's see. Now you can hear the guitar, and you can hear my voice, right? Still slightly out of sync. I'm gonna have to deal with it for today. Yeah, no. So I work with Framus. They're the guitar company I work with. But during this lockdown, these guitar companies have been sending me things, which is nice, I guess. And this is the recent one from Kiesel. So it was Aristides a couple of months back, and now it's this one, and they're all really cool. I still stick with Framus, of course, but for the sake of this, I'll certainly play this because it's a fun guitar. It's like this big, right? Pixelate on the Halloween show. So, how's everybody doing? While I was getting ready to do this stream, the guitar isn't coming through. Let me just see if I can solve that there. Let's just see. So audio capture 1 should be the one that we are trying to achieve. Yet for some reason, it does not want to play ball with me. All right, so I go to properties. Oh, it should be coming through. You guys hearing this guitar? It's just ambient, sort of echoey shit. It's not really. You guys hear that? Do you hear all that gooey stuff going on in the background? Okay, that's good. So I went online a second ago to try and figure out how to solve this this sync problem. But why is it that all these YouTube guys start their videos the same way? They say, "What's going on?" They say, "Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Crispy Dick 42, and remember to smash that like button." It's like profoundly annoying. Maybe not profoundly, but so anyway. Hey guys, what's going on? Skipped frames detected 25%. Ah, fuck it. This is also stupid. That's right. As long as we're kind of functioning, then I'm going to go with it today. Don't forget the hand gestures, someone says. So what are the hand gestures for the YouTube guys? They're like, "Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Slippery Nipple 43. I want you to subscribe and ring the bell." People are so stupid. Except for us. We are incredibly not stupid. Actually, that's not true. I've spent most of the past couple of weeks realizing how stupid I am. So what have I been doing for the past couple of weeks? So I did the Halloween special, and that kicked my ass for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons is because most of that old material I just don't resonate with anymore. So participating with it was challenging, for sure. Plus, I don't really sing like that anymore. So also trying to sing like that there's a bit of balls in the taffy puller coming out of me during the thing. So once it was finished, I was like, okay, I need a break. I've been going full bore for the past year, basically. And so I thought that I would take the last 2 weeks, the ones that have just passed, and work on music that was sort of separate from the streaming stuff and the online stuff. And so I spent 2 weeks working on the puzzle, which is the project that I'm currently kind of invested in. And I kind of went pretty deep into it, and I think it's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. And I'll show you a bunch of it later in the stream today. I've got it up on the screen here, so I'll show you what I've been working on there. Stop self-depreciating, someone says. I think there's a difference between self-depreciating or deprecating and I don't know. I don't think I'm that self-deprecating, honestly. Maybe the language is different than how that appears, but life is weird, and so am I. So, anybody got any questions before we start here today? Oh yes, hype train, it says. That's where I'm at, the hype train. Everyone aboard. Okay. So, someone says, how do I do this here? Okay, I'm looking through some of these questions. Is that guitar tiny, or do you have huge hands? This guitar is so tiny. It is like a ukulele. It really is the smallest guitar that I've ever played, really. Or at least owned. And it's cool, though. I like it. And my head is cold. So now it's not. What's another question here? What happened with Jason Newsted? I saw Jason a few years back at the Golden Gods Awards, and we're still cool. We had some crazy things between us 20 years ago that may or may not have been psychologically too healthy, but I think we've both moved on. Let's see. I knew you had to finish with Vampire. We're talking about the Halloween show, I suppose. Yeah, well, of course. I aim to please, my friends. Let's see. Some other questions here. Disjoint. Anyone catch the name, model of that guitar? So this is something that was sent to me about a week back from Kiesel, and it's the Alan Holdsworth guitar, and it's really cool. It's really cool. Again, I'm a Framus guy, but I like toys, and luckily these companies have been very proactive in helping me with that love of toys. It's going to take me a few minutes to get back into the whole streaming thing. It's been 2 weeks of just relentless recording. Another couple of questions. It stopped self-deprecating. Can't. All right. Love the Halloween special. Thank you. What happened to the costume contest? Oh, the winners were announced on Facebook. That came out a day or two after. So if anybody didn't see that, yeah. Oh, Blind Boy mentioned a potential collab situation. Yeah, so I asked Dave if he would participate on the puzzle, and he said he'd like to. So we'll see if that actually ends up working out once he hears it. You left me to die. I always thought it was you asked me to die. No, you left me to die is what it was. Okay, so let's see what else we got on the questions here. How do you warm up your voice before singing? Just relentless sobs in the corner. What effect are you using to make that beautiful sound? Why, thank you. I built it right before I started the stream because I did it specifically for that. And here it is. I will show you it because that's just the type of dude I am. All right, so that's what it is on the Axe Effects. It's a bunch of crap. So it's like got a wah, but it's a certain type of wah, and I just unplugged myself because screw everything. Let's see. And I plug it back in. So yeah, it's a wah, goes into an EQ that kind of does that. And then there's a volume that I've got attached to an expression. Pitch shift up about an octave. Then it goes into a trem. This is bypassed. Then the amp, which is just like a tweed sort of thing. Long delay with a lot of mix. Some sort of cab. A lot of reverb. But I cut off the direct, so it's just this other tail. So that's what's making this effect. And I haven't refined it yet. It's just kind of, again, this is what I started with today. Going back to the other view. Bam. There we go. All right. So let's see some other questions here. Hope your day will be awesome and full of inspiration. Thank you. So, again, what I did was I spent the last 2 weeks working on the puzzle, and it's really, really cool. But now I am getting ready for the Christmas show, which is going to be the 23rd of December. And it's going to be a little bit more like the first 3 shows that I did, the whole more intimate sort of quarantine thing, right? With the paper cutouts and all that. Half of the proceeds will go to the food bank. It'll be like the acoustic shows that I had toured. I did it through North America and Australia and Singapore, and did some Europe and India and things. So it's that thing that I had done, except for Christmas. So I may sing some shitty Christmas songs and all these sort of things as well. All right, so another questions here. Another questions. Thanks for getting a Noop to drum with you. Yeah, Noop's awesome. Great drummer. Great dude, too. Choo-choo, someone says. Yes, I choo-choose you. Again, it's going to take me a few minutes to get back into streaming. My husband wants to know why you are so bold, and I'm going with bold and not bald, because bald would be hereditary, and bold would probably be pig ignorance. What happens when you twist one of those giant knobs? I would show you, but then it interacts with multiple continents throughout the planet. Those continents are random, and so I never know who I'm going to end up screwing up, so I leave those alone. I nearly picked up Dullahan at the weekend. Congrats. Okay, what's the kick drum sample on order of magnitude? Oh, that's Morgan's kick. I think I mixed it with a sound from Superior Drummer, like one of their one, and I think it was from the Randy Staub pack, but way underneath, and I got rid of a bunch of the high end. What amp did you use to record Transcendence? I used a combination of Kemper and Fractal. Okay, let's see. I'm going down this here. Cover Wonderful Christmas Time. Any chance of singularity for the Christmas show? No, I'm going to do myself a favor for the Christmas show, and I'm not going to learn singularity yet. I'll do that. I'm sure there's going to be streams starting again in January or February. And I promise you, have my word, that the one after the Christmas one, I will play singularity in its entirety, indeed. So, wow, it says chat pause due to scroll, but that is not what's happening. It just keeps scrolling because it is modern technology and it just lives to function in that way. Watching your streams really drunk is wonderful. Yay! Booze. Booze, booze. There's so many questions. What guitar did you use for Planet Rain on the Halloween show? Well, another thing, I don't know what it is. It's just, since this whole pandemic thing, I've been sent a bunch of instruments by these companies, and it's for live, it's always a Framus stuff. And I actually called up Framus too, and I said, hey, listen, these companies are sort of sending me these gifts, which is really kind of them. You know, I'm going to use it for the streams and whatever. But that guitar was an Ibanez 6-string bass. It worked because it's in low A, so that makes perfect sense. Okay, let's see. Will live shows ever be a thing again? God knows, my friend, I'm sure. Drowning in guitars. Well, I tend to get rid of guitars after I find they don't function for me anymore, right? Look forward to summer next year. All right, a couple more questions and then I'll stop trying to keep up with this scroll because it's crazy. All right, so where are we at? I'll show you what I've been doing. I'll go over here. All right, so I'm going to take off my guitar. 2 seconds. This here needs to be like this. And this needs to be like this. All right. What have I been doing? What have I been doing? Well, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to get rid of this guitar here. Okay, so you guys can see the Pro Tools here, I imagine. Let's see. Okay. So, where are we at? Someone says they recognize this shirt from NAMM 2016. Yeah, I don't have a huge interest in clothes. Someone bought me a fuzzy jacket the other day, which was hilarious, so I've been wearing that. But I've been wearing this shirt for, oh gosh, yeah, 7 years now, I guess. I've got maybe 5 or 6 shirts, and I just wear them until they disintegrate and then hope that I can find another one. So this past 2 weeks, I've been working on the puzzle, which is this project that has unexpectedly come into my world. And if you participated in the last streams, you would have seen kind of the genesis of it. And if you didn't, I'm going to spend a couple minutes just explaining it to give you an idea of what it is. So after Empath, I had, like always, gone down the avenue of trying to figure out where I was at creatively. And what that typically entails is I just keep writing. I'll just wake up and I write, and I wake up and I write, and then I'll have a dream that has a song in it, and I'll wake up and write, and I don't write with any agenda. I just go constantly. And if you saw I think it was the last stream, I went through folders and folders and folders of those sorts of ideas. And what I typically do is I wait until something becomes so compelling to me creatively that I can't get it out of my head. And there's a period of writer's block, even though I'm creating, that tends to follow every record. And it's in line with, go away, phone. It's in line with why, okay, train of thought, derailed. Bam! How do we get back on? What were we talking about? We were talking about creative process. What happened? Okay, so your creative process, writer's block. Right. Where was I? Regardless. So I started writing, and I kept waiting for something to like tick all the boxes, something that would make me really excited creatively. And it was just everything that I wrote. It was kind of like what I've done before, you know. It's kind of like empath, or it's kind of like transcendence, or kind of like deconstruction or Ziltoid or anything. And it's all decent stuff, but it's not exciting to me creatively. It was just like, it's like digging ditches in a way when you're just trying to sort of recreate the past. So if any of you have participated in these guitar instrumental albums that I've done over the past 6 months or so, I started making another one of those. And that's what it was supposed to be. It was a one-take jam. And forgive me for not answering questions for the time being. I'm just going to get through this spiel because, as you can see, I'm clearly distracted easily. So I'm going to explain this, and then I'll answer questions. So I really love ambient guitar, like that sound that I was making there. I love it. And so I started making that jam under the impression that it would simply be another guitar instrumental album that I would put out on YouTube. But the more I started doing this third, or I guess the fourth one, the more I started recognizing how much the sound of ambience at this point really plays into where I'm at. And the best way for me to define any particular phase of my creative process is to sort of really feel that the sounds are in line with what I'm participating in. And this year obviously has been so bizarre and unprecedented that although I like these songs I've been writing, none of them really felt like the year. It was just a bunch of stuff. But the thing that did feel like this year was this meandering, sort of quasi-dark, abstract ambience. So I kept refining the jam, which was this, right? And the more I started to refine it, there was a term, periodia or something, but essentially what it is defined as is when things start to appear, for example, like when you're looking at the cloud long enough and a face appears, or if you're listening to the fan and a voice appears, right? Voices in the fan, all these sorts of things. And so I started doing that with the ambience, and before I knew it, I started hearing certain rhythms and certain patterns, and I started to decorate them. I started to sort of draw them out. Then I contacted people, and that first started with Travis, the artist. I had him send me some images, which I then animated to go along with this 50-minute thing. And then I thought, well, it'd be really cool if we put Stickman on there and make a narrative of it. And so I contacted Dan, who did the Y video, and he started doing just that. And then the more I started thinking about it, I said, well, you know, I would like to be able to make this essentially a slow motion jam between maybe a dozen people, and really disparate sort of characters. I wanted to get people whose the criteria was that they were able to listen, which seems like a very a simplistic way to include people into a project. But I think you would be surprised at how many musicians think they're listening but just have no comprehension of how to do so. They tend to just think that what they're doing is complementary to the music, when ultimately a lot of them just use it as an opportunity to just wank over. So I contacted a bunch of people who I knew were sensitive enough to participate in it, and I said, listen, send me things from the bar number. It's at 120. There's no tempo. It's all free time. Then I'll incorporate it every night, and then I'll send it back to everybody. Incorporate it, send it back. Incorporate it, send it back. And so by the end, what ends up happening is every day people are getting these things and they're hearing new things on it. And then it evolved into a soundtrack. And then with that soundtrack, I started going through it and looking at all the points of, the musical feelings that were sort of coming off of it. And I just named them things like if you see up top here, like bomb, ah, thrum. What's this one? This one is, if you're first, standing at door to get into computer world. Shark in the ice, cast off into space. 80s, transition, Blade Runner, Hammerhead Speaks, transition, Mark Ad Park, The Meaning. Alien Supermarket, Game On, Me and the Moon. Morgan Out, transition, Mike Orchestra, Into the Void. Huge Bell, Morse Code. Rappoon transition, Fake Paradise, Albert Hall. Viking Ceremony, vocal melody, Into the Void. Sunrise, Matt Needs Something, Primitive Summons. Regardless, it's just endless, endless, endless. And then that was the cues that I gave to these musicians. They said, well, what do you want us to do here? I said, I want you to listen to it, and I want you to take that catchphrase, and I would like you to, if it's, for example, 80s, I would like you to make sounds that are in line with that phrase, like an 80s sound, like Miami Vice or Blade Runner or whatever. And then as it started to evolve, it became this really beautiful, strange, abstract soundtrack that a narrative started to come out of as well. And I started to think that the one criteria that the music would have is that it doesn't change. It's always that initial one-take jam. So therefore, if part of the story doesn't seem to make sense, it's not that it doesn't make sense, it's that we haven't figured it out yet. So the jam dictates the story, dictates the music, dictates the narrative, dictates the art. And so in a sense, it's like being really myopic, is that the word? When you go and you look at something to the point, it's almost like a fractal zoom. You go into one corner and then you zoom in and then it becomes another world and another world. And the further you go in that direction, you realize that it's not just empty. There's a whole ton of things going on. So artistically, we've been working on a bunch of different sort of moods and images. But then when we took some of Travis's original art, which again, I'll show you, even though we went over it last time, but I will show you again, just as a frame of reference for what ended up happening here. So let me go back to here. We go to Sessions, we go to Pro Tools, we go to the puzzle, we go to, oh, you should see this too. What am I doing? Right. We should go to the puzzle, art. Okay, and so he was sending things, sort of like this, right? So these sort of abstract modern art things. And lots of them. Like he just sent a bunch of different variations of interesting things. And then I kept seeing the hard edges of this as being representative of like hills and mountains and what have you. And then the animator, who then started experimenting with putting the stickman on it, with these sorts of things, and they start doing the zooms on them and all this of these crazy little characters. And then now he's found a way, which I thought was really interesting, to extrude certain parts of the lighting so that the art becomes sort of like these 3D landscapes that then these characters can exist like under there, or maybe that's the clouds or what have you. And then this becomes the story, this becomes the narrative, and it's all dependent on these cues that we've got up there. And then Travis has been working on this really interesting way to bring all those two-dimensional places into a four-dimensional globe. So I had originally shown him this image. Well, he's got the overlay, but I really like this kind of fourth-dimensional globe in a sense, that all these disparate landscapes come together with at the end. And so now he's been working on trying to make that, all the flat images, and it's a work in progress, right? So then from there, I'm going to put it out independently. It's going to come out in May, and I'm going to really focus on making the physical product super cool. Like I'm thinking metal boxes or wood boxes, or maybe a bunch of really interesting, like fake leather or fur or whatever, and held together with string, and then there's certain elements here and certain elements there. And then if you look at those stickmen, there's some red ones, some green ones, some yellow ones, and some orange ones or what have you. And maybe they are all indicative of a different culture that has their own material, and then that can be part of the box. And then we were talking to the management, and we're looking to get it on Netflix just for a day or two. I mean, no one cares. I mean, it's not like we're going to take over the world, but I think it would be a great way to let people see it without having to pay for it at first. I'll put it on YouTube as well. And I'm going to do the mix because I've got hundreds and hundreds of tracks now, hundreds of tracks. This is one session of many. And what I want to do is I want to be able to take all these tracks and mix them in like 21.1 and do a surround session for a cinema that when you sit in the cinema, it's completely immersive. So how I started functioning in terms of the equalization and the recording of this is, as opposed to having one drum, I'll have 3 or 4 drummers play over top of the same beat. And because there's no click track and there's no tempo, at first they're just like, well, I can't figure out where the beat is. It's going to flam. I'm like, well, let it flam. And then every drummer has got a different sound. So there's maybe one that's got a high mid-range thing going on. Maybe there's one that's got a low mid-range. Maybe there's one that's high-end. Maybe there's one that's really dull. But then when you put them all together and then pan them all around the room, it'll sound like this massive thing, right? And I did the same with the choirs. And then I got the Electra Women's Choir working on this as well, and the orchestra working on it again. And what it ends up being, ultimately, is an ambient record that ebbs and flows into really elaborate kind of musical moments that evolved from that first jam, right? And so anybody that I've got participating in it, you see all these people are different colors. And so when they send me something, I just import it at the points where they say. And like, for example, these keys, like this is all submixes from prior sessions. Diego and Matthias and Frederick and another Matthias and Jürgen and Mike St. John and Mike Keneally and Chimino and Matt Picone and Ben Sears and Eric and the choir and Tina, and you know, it's just endless stuff, right? So I'm going to pause here for a second because I haven't been paying attention to what people are saying. So let's see. What does anybody say? I dig it. Yo, Electra hype. It's cool to be watching in VR. Yeah, that would be awesome. I love the idea of this. I love the idea of this project being like a real abstract, strange, beautiful, ambient piece that has a corresponding film and graphic novel that all play into the same aesthetic sense. And do I expect this to be something that is going to take over the musical world? Absolutely not. But it's exactly what I felt like doing. And I've been more interested in this project than I've been in a project in, maybe a decade, to be honest. But it is what it is. It's this strange thing, right? So I guess, obviously, let's just see. Where are we here? My computer hates being multitasked. Let's see. But just skipping around. I'm just going to skip around. This is going to see wherever. But it's one track, basically, that just morphs, right? Let's see. This is where the choir will be. And then we've got all sorts of, like... Let's see. And then it gets really bizarre in places where it's just like... But it's essentially a soundtrack to a film. And I've always wanted to do that, right? And then there's more, obviously, straight ahead moments. That's just like... it's all, let's see, where are we here? So it's one track that goes through a ton of moods, like it's a soundtrack, basically. And it's a soundtrack to a movie. And I was fortunate enough, I asked on Twitter the other day about graphic artists, and people sent me some wonderful people, like absolutely wonderful people. There's people did Ziltoid things that were great. People that did like dev stuff that was great. It's all super awesome. I talked to artists involved with this, and they also know some people that they want to work directly with. So I'm going to probably allow them to take the reins on that, because the idea is to have all the aesthetic elements in line with each other. But we'll look at doing some other ones later, because I saw some amazing stuff. Skipped frames. 99% of frames skipped 2 minutes ago. Oh well, fuck it. So ultimately, what I want to do with the puzzle is make it a multimedia thing that acts first and foremost as a film. Because when I was a kid, I remember going to see that Pink Floyd laser light show. We all did. That's what we did as kids, because we were lame. But what it was is, it was a dark, immersive room with surround sound, and you saw these visuals, and it had a kind of narrative that played into the music, obviously. And I want to do something similar with this, and that's why I'd like to get it on Netflix and get it on Prime and get it into some theaters and all this, and really mix it in an amazingly immersive way. So you're in this thing, and basically the narrative has evolved into each one of these images that I had shown you a second ago here that Travis had done. Ended up being like a two-dimensional world in a sense. So here's how it first started when I was sort of doing the animations to the music. I sort of took his work and then did these scrolls throughout them, right? And that's why when I thought, oh, it'd be cool to have the little stick man here and guy climbing here and whatever, and so having them do all these little movements became this really cool sort of slow motion thing. And then the theme ends up being that all these characters that live in these two-dimensional worlds think that they're alone, but then they send explorers off into the void, and then they find other ones, and then it all gets pulled together into a four-dimensional globe at the end. And the punchline, I guess, is that the missing piece of the puzzle is their awareness of others. So, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. But I really would like it to be super immersive, really like hypnotic, and a place to sort of escape, I guess, musically. And I find it is really, of all these options that had presented themselves to me creatively over the past 6 months, this is the one that I gravitated towards. So now I'd say 70% of the music is done, and there's people that are participating in it still, but now it's being sent off to other things, and it's going to come out in May, I'd say. But this morning is when I started getting back into this particular aspect of my work as well, because it's really important for me to be able to, as I've said before, try and help in the ways that I'm able. I would love to be able to alleviate people's suffering and help people on that level, but it's such a daunting task to do anything really these days. So what I can bring to the table is music. So I made a video this morning for a song that I'm going to put out tomorrow. Yeah, it sucks. It's a dumb song. It was one of the ones I did on the stream a couple of weeks back, a couple of months back maybe, the Precious Sardine. And I made a stupid video for it, and I'll release that tomorrow. I'll do another podcast for Wednesday. We got the next Christmas stream coming up, which should be fun. And what else is going on? Oh, I got a... I don't know if I should say it yet. It doesn't matter. I got a gig writing kids' music. Me. For CBB, I think is the station in the UK, right? And they asked me to do something which is really cool. They asked me to make ambience, which I was already sort of doing, that describe colors that kids can then participate in, like kids 4 and under. So they gave me a list of the colors that they wanted, you know, like pink and blue and silver and green and orange, red, etc., etc. And so I have to do an intro for the show, and I have to do pieces of music that complement each color, and then I have to, each episode they've got an artist that paints with that color, and I have to do a sequence for that too. So, yeah, if I just divulge that and I'm not supposed to, then sorry. I think I fuck it. You know what? It's funny because management and so many people in my life are like, oh, you can't tell people what you're doing. We have to get the hype level up. And I struggle to care about that in real tangible ways. Like I mean, hype level? Yay! Something. So there we go. There's that. Yeah, it is neat sounding. So anybody else have any questions here? Yeah, that's the one with the sample of Terence McKenna on it. I didn't include the end, though, because the song is just 12 minutes of rambling, so I moved it down to 6 minutes of rambling. Get the kiddies hooked on Dev from a young age. Yeah. Oh, my God. That's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I got to keep myself in check psychologically and emotionally, because as soon as you start taking on gigs like that, you realize you've got a certain amount of responsibility, I think. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, this is Red plays strapping. All right. No, management's great. My management's awesome. They don't suck at all. They're just trying to rein in my randomness, which I give them so much credit for, because holy cow, man. Like, I just kind of do what I want and set up an apology for later. How are you going to get the hype level up if no one knows there's stuff to be hyped for? Yeah, maybe there's that, right? Okay, so how do I pause this stupid thing? Let's see. How do I pause this? Oh, I hate this fucking bullshit, stupid stream chat. Hype train. Rating. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm going to try and pause it by doing this. If I grab that. Oh, chat pause drew to scroll. Okay. Now I can take a breath and not be angry at something that there is a solution for, but I just want to hang this anger that I feel free floating on something so that chat will do. God, you know, that's one of the worst parts about self-analysis, I think, on some level, is when you realize what you're doing and then you continue to do it. It's no longer gratifying. You just are like, oh, there's that. All right. Okay, so scrolling down. Making media for kids is a huge honor, and I take it as such, actually, especially 4 and under. That's awesome. Okay, I'm looking for questions, and it is the scrolling issue here. I'm just going to see. Wonder if you cover this in the P Codcast? No, the Key podcast. But what made you take the lyrics from Soft for the Key title track? Well, the same reason I use music and recycle music throughout my work. It's typically because I feel that melody, that lyrical component, that guitar line, whatever, there's still information that is pertinent to things that I'm trying to sort out in my own world that melody is attached to. That's the best way for me to describe it. And if there's unfinished business with a certain melodic component to my work, then I bring it back when that particular theme presents itself again. You know what I mean? So if, gosh, maybe if it's because I don't know about you, but when I write something or when I think of something, I tend to be very I connect those groups of notes and melodies and colors and what have you into very distinct things. I remember recording albums, and while I'm recording certain parts, in my mind, even though I'm not conscious of it straight out, there's this sense of like, oh, I'm on this corner of like Main and Fifth, or I'm at this store that I go to, or I'm at this place in LA, or whatever. It's like certain sequences of notes resonate with places for me, and those places are also tied into the emotional content. And so when I play something, I find myself subconsciously participating in a lot of information. And if that information is still trying to present itself through my subconscious, I guess, it seems obvious to use that melody again. There's the longest answer to the simplest question ever. Okay. In my opinion, the best drummer ever, it depends. It depends on how much sleep any drummer's had. I've been very fortunate to play with some fantastic drummers. I really enjoy playing with Morgan at the moment. Of course, Gene was amazing, and everybody else I played with is great, of course. But it depends. I'm a drummer snob too, which doesn't help. Let's see. Name 3 tracks of others you wish you'd written yourself. I don't wish I'd written anybody else's music at all. Okay, let's see. What's the story behind Radial Highway? Don't remember. I think it was because it sounded so much like Golden Earring. Been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. It's the same thing, which is why I didn't include it on the record, because I'm like, yeah, it's pretty close. So I think that's what it was. Do you have a form of synesthesia? I think I have synesthesia, but I didn't know that until somebody online told me. And I think what's interesting about a lot of diagnosis that people tend to put on their creative or personal tendencies tends to, at least on a creative front, to sort of limit it if I'm thinking, oh, that's the reason why that's happening, because it's synesthesia. It's just, that's how I function. So, call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. Damn. Is that Heartbreaker demo going to show up on a release? Radar Love, that's what it was. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, maybe. So I've got tons of music that I've written. Tons and tons of music. And I've been working with a producer as well for a record that I'm going to do in 2022. I'm not quite convinced it's going to work, but it's worth a shot. But before I do that, I got to do puzzle, because I need to do something super abstract. I want to do something that is so abstract that it can't be. I figured the best way for me to follow up Empath, because Empath was a big sort of deal, right? For me, at least, it had all the people involved, and it took so much work and resource and all these sorts of things, that following up Empath with anything that is similar to Empath is kind of going to be a bit of a letdown in a sense. But following it up with something that is just completely out to lunch seems like a way for me to clear the palate in a way. And that's what the puzzle is. I had asked online too, people's opinions. I don't know if any of you here helped with this, but I said, is it going to be puzzle, the puzzle, or puzzle spelled P-U-Z-L? And without much of a margin for anything else, it came back as the puzzle. And so that's what it's going to be called. And when I talked to Travis doing the graphic art as well, he agreed. So it's The Puzzle, ladies and gents. All right. Favorite Ween album? That's a hard one. They're hit and miss in ways that I can certainly relate to. It's like Russian roulette when you're putting on a Ween song, whether or not it's going to be an unbelievably powerful, tear-jerking masterpiece, or it's just going to be a bunch of guys sniffing glue and yelling at each other. Both of which I find pretty good. Probably White Pepper or The Mollusk. Okay. What gave you the idea to start employing a 7-string in your work, and would you ever do an 8-string? Years and years and years and years ago, like 2002, 2000 maybe, was the first tour that I did with Meshuggah, and that was the first time I, became close with Frederick and all this, and that's what they played 7 strings, and I thought it was cool, and I gave it a shot for a while, but I realized as well that like anything else, if a musical entity, whether or not solo artist or band, have got like a really solid thing that they do, like that is them. I don't have a lot of desire to do a version of that. I would rather integrate it into my own works, like 7-string or 8-string. And so I tried, and I found that honestly, I found that whenever I toured, I was like, oh shit, now I got to have a 7-string too. So I just ended up writing on 6. I'm more comfortable with that, I guess. And an 8-string, yeah, Strandberg. Hey, thanks for the donation. Strandberg gave me an 8-string that was really cool. But I mean, I don't know. It's too big. Tosin and Fred and all those guys and Javier, that's their world, man. I'm an old 6-string knob. Okay, so the other day I was listening to Alien, and right at the end of Info Dump, there's a rhythmic pattern that has the same rhythm as Color Your World's ending. You are a puppet. Was that intentional? Yes. Are you tripping? No. Am I tripping? Someone says. I guess they're referring to themselves. You may be. I have no idea. I am not. Yes, that Morse code pattern is Om. O-M. The sound of the universe. Yes. Dun, 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 dun. When I put that into the Morse code generator, Ohm came out as that rhythm, and I thought it was super powerful and super, super cool. So having it at the end of Alien was interesting because, in a sense, it was meant to be not ironic, but because Alien was such a psychologically unstable period for me, my perception of something that is that awe-inspiring, like the Om or that sound, or during meditation or anything, that the Om was one of almost fear because it was so profound. And then when it came to Ziltoid, I revisited it because the idea was that my fear of it, or the awe that I felt of it, was more based on me participating in it in an unhealthy way, as opposed to the truth of it. And the truth of it is something actually very beautiful and subtle, I think. So I revisited it on Ziltoid because Ziltoid was I guess a metaphor for the overarching psychological darkness that was Alien. Right? There we go. I got that out. Late to this party. Devin is too busy for Portnoy and Ackerfeld. Yeah, I'm too busy for everything. Well, plus I don't want to. This is the thing, that it's hard for some people as well. I get asked to sing on things all the time, and I get asked to play guitar and things all the time, and I don't want to. That's my answer. And it's not because I don't respect it. It's not because I don't think it's good. In some cases, it's brilliant. And sometimes I do. Like, sometimes I'll do it, but I just don't. You set a precedent for yourself. And Mike Ackerfeld and I, we've been buddies for years. 15 years ago, when he had just had kids and I just had kids, we would phone each other when it was, evening in Vancouver and morning in Sweden, and we would both just drink a bottle of wine and complain. And then a couple years back, I went to Sweden right before Empath, and I stayed with him and his family for a couple of days, and we recorded a song on his laptop. That's so fucking bad. It's so bad. And I kept asking him, I was like, dude, just send me it and I'll put it out. People would want to hear it. And he's like, oh, I think I lost it. And I was like, you didn't lose it. You're just embarrassed of it. And Portnoy is a fantastic drummer. And, he's a good dude too. I don't know. I just don't want to. Okay. Late to this party, someone says, Netflix, winter party. There's parties, man. It's just a constant party with us, right? We're just hanging out, partying with each other. Dejev, someone says, yeah, that's my 8-string trip. Well, I think it's really important as a musician to go through the phases that you need to go through and get it out of your system. Like if you are fascinated with a certain artist, whoever that is, John Coltrane or Meshuggah or Gojira or anything, and you're just starting out, I think a rite of passage is aping that to a certain extent and just being like, okay, well, here's something that I want to hear me play. And it sounds like these people who are my heroes or whatever. And then once you get through that, I think what lies on the other side of it is where your identity is. And finding what your identity is super important, I think, as a musician, because there's only you, right? You're the only one that has that identity. And a lot of times I found with myself as well, when I really was face to face with who I am and what my true nature was, there were certain moments where I was like disappointed. I was like, I wish it would be a little cooler than that. I wish it would be a little bit more like the cool guys. Like when you're younger and you see all those guys that in high school, the cool kids. I remember even in high school, I was just always kind of me, like just it's kind of me, man. Like some days I was that, some days it was that, and I just kind of went with it. And when I have spent all this time through the recordings and through the analysis and through all these things that I do to try and get to the root of where I'm at so I can write from a place of as authentic a connection to my current reality as I possibly can, there's moments where I'm like, wow, that's not the coolest thing, is it? Ah, well. I've told this story a couple of times, but it's worth saying again. Years ago, somebody had, when you're kids, sometimes you do these personality tests. I'm not talking about like Dianetics or something like that, but one of these books, you answer 200 questions in some hippie book, and it gives you a breakdown of what your personality type is, and they've broken it down into all these different categories, like mental tan, and which was the song that I wrote when I took the test off St. Kestra. And they ask you questions. I think the first one, which was really telling for me, was, do you gauge the value of something by how substantial it feels? And my answer was yes, absolutely. It's always been that way. So if I have 2 effect pedals, I remember I was working with MXR a few years back, and they sent me 2. They sent me the Van Halen Phaser, and they sent me the Phase 90. And I was like, oh, I really like the Van Halen Phaser. And they're like, well, the circuit is basically the same. There's a couple of modifications on the controls, but it's the same. And I was like, well, I like it much more. And they said, well, why? And I said, I think it's because it feels heavier. So when I did this series of tests, a series of questions, in my mind, I thought that the analysis that this hippie book would bring back would be that clearly I was, an effervescent creature. I was some sort of hyper-advanced blah, 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 blah. I was arrogant and young and all this. And so I did the questions to the best of my ability, expecting full well to get that as the answer. When they read it out, it basically said, you are a cow. If you were a food product, you would be a brown bean. You are basic. And I had no expectation of that. And not that I necessarily buy it. I mean, it is what it is. But what it did make me realize is well, maybe there's an aspect of that rings true. And maybe me trying to pursue things that are contrary to who I am, if I really stop and think about it, book aside, maybe you're running in circles and making life a lot more difficult for yourself than if you just accept that who you are is maybe not what this projection that you would like the world to think of you as is. And that's helped me a great deal, because then I'm just like, well, fuck it. I'm going to write this. I'm going to do this, and I'll do this, and we'll have puppets, and we'll have cats and all this shit. And if somebody else doesn't like it, I mean, that's on them, you know? That was another long question. Okay. Devin, do you tab with your foot? Are you saying tab or tap? Because if it's tab and we're talking about guitar tablature, absolutely not. But if it's tap, all the time. Are you working with Four Stroke Baron? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Four Stroke Baron is a band that the management company that I'm with were presented with, and they asked me if I would mix their record. And I said no, but they kept insisting, and they're a good band, and so I said yes. And so there's that. But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily mixing things. It was just they found an opening through the management, because like it only goes through management. That's the only way I can do it at this point. Oh my God, it's Donnie Township, or whoever it is. Really? Who's that anonymous old man? Are you talking about me again? Am I Donnie Township, the anonymous old man? That sounds like a good name for some sort of podcast. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Donnie Township. You might have heard of me from the Anonymous Old Man podcast. Hey, Devin, greeting from Norway. Keep up the good work during these terrible times. Thank you. I'm doing my best. Okay, here's something that I have been thinking about recently, is my tendency to people please, and how that has manifested as a certain type of low undercurrent of hostility in my life, because I was raised to just people please. And then when I realize I'm not being who I am, I'm like trying to do things for the sake of others, there's this resentment that builds. But again, in terms of self-deprecation, in terms of self-analysis, all these things, there's a means to an end. It is not just idly doing that. It's just the process of trying to unfuck oneself takes that analysis, I believe. And this particular period of time has been ripe with the opportunities to sort of see ourselves in a different light. So my reason for doing the work that I've been doing online and doing all these concerts and everything, other than trying to, you know, we did the charity concerts, which raised, you know, almost 200,000 euro for the hospitals, which was great. And then I also have the ones that, you know, I did the last one, and it helped me pay the bills on my side as well. So thank you very much. I just feel like that's what I can bring to the table. I've said that before, but I would love to be able to help people. I would love to be able to alleviate some of the suffering that you see, like the people who are homeless, or, you know, all these sorts of things. But I feel impotent in a lot of ways to do what needs to be done. So knowing that I have a huge hand, knowing that I can do music, and knowing that on some level it helps in Norway, for example, is something that I feel like, okay, well, that's a good use of the time. And I've come to the conclusion it's more based on that than me wanting to people please, which is delightful. All right. Next, favorite fruit. Favorite fruit. Fruit is bananas. What is my favorite fruit? I think it's got to be pineapple. Or pomegranate. But I like the two together. Hey, did you know that when you cut a pomegranate, you cut it in half, and then you hold it over the sink, and you got to be careful because it gets everywhere, but hit the back of it with like a serving spoon, like a big plastic serving spoon. And that's the easiest way to get all those little seedlets out. And then you pick out all the white pithy fragments, and you've got a delectable bowl of goo. Did you see Mike Portnoy wants to start a dream band with you, Steven Wilson, and Michael Ackerfeld? My problem with that is I think I'd be lifting all the gear. I don't know if those guys lift gear, and that's kind of a prerequisite for me being in a musical situation with anybody. Everybody has to work. That's what has to happen, you know? So I just don't know, man. I don't know Steven Wilson, but I can't see him lifting a cab. Mike would maybe not do it, but he'd be funny about it, so I'd be okay with that. And Portnoy, I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to lift all the gear. Okay. Hey, Deb, just want to say how appreciative I am of your work. Earth Day was the very first song I ever heard as a newborn. I've been listening to your stuff ever since. Keep up the work, you glorious bastard. Wow, glorious. Let me just type in glorious old bastard. There we go. Info Dump is incredibly unsettling. Yeah, very effective track. I know that. It made my friend cry when I first showed it to him, and that made me feel terrible. Okay. I've only just discovered Opeth. Yeah, Opeth are fantastic. I'm honestly afraid of Info Dump. Yes, I know. It's an unsettling track. But at that time, it was very important to me to be accurate with what I was feeling, and that is exactly how I felt. Very much like the puzzle is how this year has felt to me. All right. There's so many questions here. Let's see. Yeah, Dev, what's with the lack of spring? I have no idea. Is Christmas a big deal in your house? I think so. I don't know. I mean, I have kids, so there's always that, right? I wish I was this philosophical. Is it philosophical? Philosophical? Is it philosophical or is it just masturbatory? I don't think it matters. You said John Coltrane. I thought you meant Robbie Coltrane. Like the Hagrid guy. Oh, you mean from Harry Plopper and the City of Dangus? Yeah. I keep being told that I should read that book. I have people whom I respect who are just like, hey, the Harry Potter series is really good. So I finally started reading and I got 3 chapters into it. And I was just like, yeah, I got lots to do. And yeah, I only like the hat. Okay. Dev, please read the scary Korean comic. That is a random statement, but I'll take it. How did you come up with the floating part in Evermore near the beginning? Turn the page. It's so tasty. I have no idea how I come up with anything. I would be suspicious of any musician that did. Truly suspicious. But if someone is like, this is how I came up with this. I decided that the tonic was going to be A, and we were going to work in Lydian because it was, you know, it has that sort of sense of lack of resolve that I can carry over the next few chord changes, which lyrically makes sense because the resolution comes in the chorus. I mean, maybe I already do that. I have no idea. All right. That's the Van Halen magic. That's a bummer about Van Halen. Bummer about Wolfgang, too, having to take all that shit. He seems like he's a decent dude. Okay. That's answering more questions. How is the Empath tab book going? Oh, I finished it. Yay! And of course, like everything I do, I wanted to make sure it was accurate. So I spent a week with the poor guy who was doing the tab, and I had to go through it all and be like, actually, no, that finger goes there, and this finger goes there. But the next one I'm going to do is deconstruction because I think that one would be interesting for people to play. But the Empath tab book is done. Yep. Thank you for the compliments, guy with the record store. Let's see. Not portraying some edgelord, someone says. Is that a thing? When you portray an edgelord? Yeah, I'm not an edgelord. I'm your weird Uncle Dev. That's how it goes. Dev, have you heard of Wolfpack? I have not. How would you rate your music theory knowledge from 1 to 5? 3. But 2 years ago, it was at 1. So I started taking lessons in orchestration right about the time of Transcendence. I started working with several people and have them show me how to orchestrate because the Moth and all these things that I've got planned, I want to be able to do it myself, and I don't want to be able to hand the work off to the conductors and the actual manuscript writers and have it be complete gibberish. So I needed to start from beginning, and so my keyboard, which is right here, I ended up writing all the notes on each key, and I ended up figuring out the inversions for certain certain tonalities, and then I would go through in my template and figure out what range, first violin, second violin, viola, cello, double bass, where the flute exists, where the piccolo exists. And by doing that, it kind of put a lot of things into perspective for me. So now I have a working awareness of how my creativity functions, but I don't know it well enough to second guess what I do, which was actually the objective in the beginning. All right. Donnie Township can be your CBeebies pseudonym. Kind of like that. Or, did you see that guy? What was his name? Blippy? The guy who's like the kids dude on YouTube, and then they ousted him for making a video where he's shitting on his buddy to the Harlem Shake. Fucking rules. This guy's got a multi-million-dollar industry selling these little dolls to kids. And then all of a sudden they're just like, and dude, of the videos that they could find that this guy was doing, if you haven't seen the Harlem Poop Shake, I mean, people sent me that like 10 times in the past. And I was like, that's that fucking guy? And so he had to go online and do this thing about, I'm really sorry that I shit on my buddy. I thought that was amazing. So I got to be careful too. I remember, the first thing that used to come up when you put my name into YouTube was download. And I'm just like, stick this in your cunts or something. And I remember my kid was playing with some other kid, and that's the first thing their parents saw. And I was just like, oh, oh my God, man. So you go on that kind of thing where you're just like, oh, I was younger and things were different. But ultimately you're just like, no, I mean, I'm just an idiot. Please yourself, and it's very likely to please others, someone said. That's the fortune cookie I want. I'd take that one rather than the chef spit in your food. Yeah, so with that in mind, I'll say this again. The puzzle is very much what I want to do. I really, really, really wanted to do the puzzle. Is it going to be a record that is going to be something that you put on when you're going to the gym or something? No. But I think that because we've all lived through this crazy year, this will be something that that people will certainly be able to understand. And I think it will be a really, really, really cool immersive experience with a bunch of brilliant people involved. Like, this was really cool. I'll see if I can find this spot. A friend of mine, Tina, in Sweden, did this part like a hymn the other day, and then I put vocals on it as well, and let's see if I can find it. Where does it go? Southern Sky Geometry. Is it After Shitty Blues? I forget. Is it right here? Monuments of Glitch? Was that it? Let me hear. Is this it? No, that wasn't it. No, where is the part that she did? It was really easy. No, that's not it either. No, that's not it either. Let's see if I can find it. If I can't, then I can't. I'm sure I could if I spent time, but who has the time? Oh, no, there was one other. And is this it? Morse code? Anyway, it was really cool, so you'll hear it one day. All right, so next, how about some charity singles? Yeah, the Christmas thing that we're doing is 50% of it's charity, and it will be cheap as well. Well, ish, because you want to be able to provide something. What if you put the pomegranate in the pineapple? Oh my god. Pineappleception. I guess it wouldn't technically be the case. Let me see. Pineapple makes my gullet feel like it's got a noose around it. All I can say is sucks for you. There's a handy GIF of even an easier way to eat pomegranates. Ooh, please send. What's my favorite houseplant? I like the green ones. All right. I'm looking through all these questions. The city of Dingus. Hey, from Burnaby. All right. Fuck, marry, kill between the 3 empath drummers. I'd have to marry Morgan, for sure. I'd probably have to fuck Anoop because he's comfy. And I'd have to have a duel with Sam because I think I'm like a couple inches taller than him. So I stand a chance, but he's a drummer, so he's probably stronger. All right. What's your favorite key to work in? Probably C. If you could teleport anywhere for one day, where would you go? To a place where my body didn't bother me. Because that tends to be my biggest issue in life, is that having a body is super weird. I'm very thankful for it, though. Like, I'm very grateful for having a functioning body, but it's always, like, stinky or sore or something. My kids watched Blippi a lot. Yeah! Oh, that video was the end of that? Oh, man. That's probably good. On the topic of puzzles, I have this vivid memory from when I was 16, 17. I was listening to Synkestra and building a 1,000-piece Snoopy Peanuts puzzle, and my friends said that I'm weird. Now I'm over 30, and I still love building puzzles while listening to Devin. That's great. So everybody's telling me how much they hate Blippi, but here's the thing. I think that me doing any of these sort of things, like these kid shows, soundtracks, or whatever, I've made it pretty clear to the people in charge that who they're dealing with has a lot of things in his past that could potentially be troubling for children. So as much as I feel that my creative inclinations have changed somewhat. Oh, is that how I make that work? Oh shit. I'm a fucking banana, right? So I don't want anybody to be under any illusion that I've ever had my shit together. Sounds like vinyl with the hole off-centered. That's my trip. Fuck, no. Go away, though. On an almost completely unrelated note to you digging pomegranates, there's this Russian film from the 60s called The Color of Pomegranates. Some really awesome visuals, inspiring stuff. The Color of Pomegranates is a biography of the Armenian Ashug Sayat-Nova King of Songs, in parentheses, that attempts to reveal the poet's life visually and poetically rather than literally. I, too, like pomegranates. Okay. Live performance of Telescopes Are Gay coming soon. That'll be me. See, there's another example. Cancel Dev. What year is The Moth? 2023, 2024? Don't know yet. Once I start getting inspired for it. Puzzle is my first attempt at making a soundtrack, I guess. So that's why it's exciting for me. But it's not like, even though I'm going to do a bunch of stuff with it, we're going to release it in some really cool ways. It's like it's something I wanted to do rather than, like a contractual obligation, or this is something Sony's got a lot invested in. In fact, I asked them if I could do it independently, and they gleefully approved, just so they wouldn't have to try and figure out what the fuck to do with it, right? Okay, would you rather have a dog with human hands for paws or a cat with a human face? The cat meows in a human's voice as well. Dog, 100%. However, as unpopular as of an opinion as this is, I think I prefer cats. Not because I like them better, but because they're less easy to offend. And because I'm not particularly present with pets, I don't, I mean, I love them and I respect them as entities, but I just, they're just always shitting in boxes and wanting to chase something. And I don't know. It's not my trip, really. So of the two, as much as I think dogs are just such wonderful creatures, cats I can kick off my lap and they're not going to be offended, as opposed to spending the rest of the day trying to figure out how to make sure my dog's okay. I don't know. All right. What are your current thoughts on the moth now that a vaccine is in sight? Is it? I had no idea. As far as I can tell, it is. Well, how I've kind of relegated my existence at this point, because I'm sure most of us here, at least those of us in North America, would agree, perhaps silently, to not appear like it was as traumatic as it was. But that election week was really intense for a lot of people. A lot of people that I know, on either side of the spectrum. It, regardless of what your feelings were, it was so exhausting. And the whole pandemic and whatever people's opinions of that are, which run the gamut from government hoax to never leave the house, and the divisiveness that it has created between people and even within families. It's just so exhausting that for me, being really careful with social media is a huge part of my trip. Maintaining some sort of mental equilibrium in the ways that I'm able, exercise or meditation, is very important. But I have also relegated that who knows when this is going to end. And so, as opposed to allowing myself to just devolve into a mess of bad habits, I'm just trying to stay focused on my work, and the puzzle has been fantastic for me. Regardless of what people think of it, it's exactly what I needed to do. And I think about the live shows. I think about the crew that I work with and how they're just been unemployed now for 8 months to a large degree. And I can't think forward to, even if a vaccine or whatever was out tomorrow, there's no way that that's not going to be without significant amounts of trauma and drama and divisiveness as well. So I'm going to keep making music. I'm going to keep doing podcasts. I'm going to keep streaming. I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep doing live shows on, the next one I'll do in the corner here again. It's going to be like the first one, but a little cooler. It's going to be cooler. And when and if things return to some sort of sense of normality, I'll be ready. But until that time, I think we all need to have some music, so that's what I'm doing, right? All right. How involved was Nolly with Empath? Transcendence was one of the first big things he did. I know that you ended up mixing it yourself because of a lack of time for him to mix. Nolly is incredible engineer, such a good dude, and a freaking fantastic guitar player. If you haven't heard him play guitar, that guy's ripping guitar player. I went to Bath in England to mix Empath, and we only had 10 days. And if you've heard Empath, you'll know that 10 days is not nearly enough to even scratch the surface of the amount of complexity that recording had going for it. So I mixed it with Nolly, and on the flight home, I listened to it, and I said, you know what? It's in the ballpark, but although the sounds are good, arguably better than the sounds that I had for Empath, the thing that was important for me in empath was the depth of those layers, right? So I did it myself, and it wasn't until I did the 5.1 where I felt like I was satisfied enough with it to move on. So Nolly was involved. He did all the drum sounds and mixed the drums. So, are you familiar with Gojira and their early work? Yeah, I'm familiar with Gojira. And their early work, yeah. I mean, yeah, I know them. Two drug companies have released data on COVID-19 vaccine between 09 to 95% effective. Man, anyone can say that about it. It's about, I've released something that is between 0 and 100% effective. This song that I'm releasing tomorrow, Precious Sardine, is between 0 and 95% a shitty song. I don't know. I mean, if you follow me in my work, you'll know that I stay pretty far removed from those sorts of things. And it's not because, you know, I don't have opinions or thoughts or whatever. It's just social media is an echo chamber. It's people who are like you for the most part. And there's tons of people I know that are often saying to me, you know, lots of things about it. Silence is complicit and all this. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it's so fucking negative. Everything is negative. That I just want to make music for people. I want to make music for people who aren't fucking assholes. That's my goal. You know, I'd be surprised if someone was like, you know what we really need here is that guy's fucking opinion. You know? I don't know. I never got into any of this music thing with any aspirations to do any of these sorts of, I don't know, man. I mean, you call something out that is cruel, of course, but man, I just want to write music, man. That's just really what I want to do. I mean, every now and then I have to get involved with some of this shit, but I'm just like, fuck, man, this is not my skill set. You know, a lot of the reason is because I tend to see a lot of sides to things. I'm a shitty arguer too. Even my wife, even with my kid, my parents, my friends. I'll come into an argument, I'm like, this is what I feel. Unequivocally. This is my opinion. And they're like, yeah, but have you considered this? And I'll be like, no. And now I'm confused. Is Mike Keneally going to be on the puzzle? Yes, Mike Keneally is going to be on the puzzle. As you know, in the local area, we've been put into recent further restrictions. Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna, how long have I been on here? Oh shit, hour and a half. I got stuff to do today. So what am I doing today? All right, so I'm gonna record some Christmas songs and I'll put them on YouTube. Yeah, I know. And you know the worst part about it too is you can't be non-denominational when it comes to Christmas songs because they're also rooted in that belief system. So I'll just sing it as they're written, and I'll call it an agnostic Christmas. But I'm going to do that because I thought it would be really nice. And no, I don't want to make them like a heavy metal Christmas song either. It's just like every time I hear that, I'm like, fuck, that's not what I want to hear at Christmas time. You know? Jingle bells, jingle bells. I'd rather have something super chill. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it this week. So, hey, a very Devi Christmas coming up for you. That I'm sure I'll get shit for because, you know, I don't know. Who cares? So it's funny. It's like, oh, yeah, there's all these people. He meant to say 90. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, okay, sorry, when you're talking about the vaccine, that makes more sense. Between 90 and 95% effective makes a lot more sense to me than the margin of error that somebody can allot themselves between 0.9 and 95. Although that's funny. I think that's great. Is a puzzle 2D or 3D or even more dimensions? The whole purpose of it, the end of the story is it should be 4 dimensions. That's the whole idea. I've recently got into cardiacs. Did you ever meet Tim Smith? I knew Tim through his friends, and we knew each other vicariously. I would send him messages, and he would send messages back. But it was after he had had his stroke. And Cardiacs was such genius. I love that band. Should I eat chicken soup or pineapple fried rice? It depends on how much you hate your chicken. If you love your chicken, eat the pineapple fried rice. But if that chicken's an asshole, then threaten him with the soup. But then eat the pineapple fried rice. All right. You can't win. If you stay silent, you get shit. And if you don't, you get people saying, shut up and play your guitar. Ain't that the truth? Silence is complicit. Okay, I feel this. Shut up and play your guitar. Again, I feel that what I can provide for people at this point is like music. I want things to be better as a result of my involvement, and my lack of socio-political knowledge or interest is such that it's a can of worms every time you even like something. It's crazy. I get shit for liking things. It's like bizarre. It's not like I don't continue to do that, but it's just what I think it has a lot to do with is the fact that there's so much hostility and anxiety that is floating around right now. And number one, everybody has a voice on social media, which is new. But that's hand in hand with no one having any power. And so I think if you get hostility, anger, anxiety, super hardline, divisive ideologies, then I think people tend to sort of pick anything to hang that on. Like any hook they can hang that anxiety or anger on. I did a post 2 or 3 years ago, maybe it wasn't that long ago, about, hey, I don't mind pineapple on my pizza because someone said earlier, what's your favorite fruit? I like pineapple. I said, hey, I don't mind pineapple on my pizza. And you would have thought that I had said something profoundly, heinously racist or divisive, or like, I think anybody under the age of 30 deserves to die a horrible death. It was that same level of hostility. And it went on for weeks. I would see it again. It was like, fuck that, pineapple, fuck. And I'm thinking, it can't be the pineapple that you're upset about. It's got to be the fact that you're just hostile towards or anxiety-ridden about all sorts of things, that there's nobody who's going to listen to you. Or there's nobody that's going to, I don't know. But if you're willing to get that upset about pineapple, I think that it maybe goes a little deeper than pizza. And I'm sure that I haven't scrolled down, but I'm sure there's going to be people even here that's like, fucking pineapple on pizza. Oh my God. World ends. Yeah, see, they say it's a big topic of debate on Matt Heffy's Twitch too. Well, I mean, again, maybe it's because no one really has any place to put this anxiety and hostility that seems to be rampant in society now. So any convenient peg to hang that on, people are willing to take. That's my impression of it. So as a result of that, if people are willing to get that upset about that shit, I'm just kind of like, all right, fuck pineapple, you're right. It's a shitty fruit. You're all sick. I see. It's all it takes is just to bring that up. Let's try something here. You know what? My favorite color is blue. Right? I don't know about you guys, but I think blue is clearly, that could even be tied to a political ideology. Let's move it away from that. I really like puce. That's a good color. Burnt umber. ochre. These are the colors. See, blue sucks. Ziltoid's opinion on it. All right. Anyway, guys, it's always great spending time with you, and I really appreciate the support. I really do, and I really love to play for you and to entertain in the ways that I'm able. I'm gonna finish this video for this stupid song tomorrow. When it comes out, I'm sure the YouTube comments will be like, "Ah, this isn't a real song. You need to put back together, blah, 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 blah." It's just a stupid song. So know that ahead of time. The stream is on the 23rd of December, and it's going to be an acoustic show. And it's going to be really cool. I'm going to start the podcast for Addicted tomorrow. I'm going to start recording an EP's worth of traditional Christmas songs because, you know what? My mom would like it. So I'm going to do that for her. And then I'll put it out. And if you want to hear it, you can hear it too. And I think it's all about making sure that we keep our bearings on what is important during this time. And that really comes down to mental health, physical health, your family, your friends, and keeping an eye on something that entertains you enough to motivate you daily, even if what that ends up being is something that is not conducive to maybe what other people might want from you. For example, the puzzle. I've loved making this record. But it's very strange. But it's every day I would wake up with the melodies stuck in my head, and I'd think about the people involved, and it became really, really a great thing for me during this period. So that's what I did. And it will be amidst all the other stuff, like I'm putting out actual records and all these sorts of things next year. But the puzzle was for me, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. So please take care of yourself, my friends, and we'll do this again as soon as I'm able. And thank you for showing up for the Halloween stream. That was a very difficult show for me. I don't resonate with a lot of those songs anymore, and it was very difficult to sing. And I left it feeling like, oh, God. But thank you for participating in it. And if there's any questions you have, I'm always on Twitter. Well, I'm not actually, but I occasionally go on Twitter, and I'm happy to answer things there if I see them. And take it easy. What time is the video out? Oh, I don't know. I've been told by the people that are experts in hype that there are certain times of the day that you're going to be able to hit every demographic. There's a certain time of the day where urban professionals are online, and there's a certain time of the day that works for both the European time zones and the North American time zones. And